Anyway, just ahead, we've got an in-studio discussion excuse me, on cybersecurity with the APAC Director for Security at Juniper Networks, which is a hot topic at the moment because in the United States, lawmakers want a new bill to go after specific hackers with real consequences and punishments. Tech giant Microsoft and the FBI have launched an assault on one of the world's biggest cyber crime rings. The company says the operation brought down more than 70% of over 1,000 malicious computer networks. The networks were reportedly used to steal over $500 million from various financial institutions. Microsoft said the malware has infected millions of computers in more than 90 countries and territories, with the highest numbers of infections found in Europe, Hong Kong, India, Singapore, Australia, and the US. Now, as we continue to move towards a digital age, more and more information is being stored in online data centers, but many companies continue to struggle to keep pace with the increasing volume and sophistication of cyber attacks. The first RSA Asia-Pacific Security Conference is underway here in Singapore, and the event focuses on the increasing emphasis that Asia-Pacific companies are placing on growing cybersecurity threats around the world. So for more on this, Greg Bunt joins us now in the studio. He's the APAC Director for Security at the networking company Juniper Networks. Thanks for joining us, Greg. First up, we're getting more and more connected in the world through technology, and the more we're getting connected, the more threats there are. That's not scaremongering, that's just a fact, isn't it?
That's right. So if you look at the, as we become more and more enabled, more and more IP devices, more mobile devices, we're becoming more connected, and the threat vector has significantly changed. As organizations consolidate their assets, intellectual property and other types of assets inside the data center, obviously wherever there's that concentration of data, there's a risk, and organizations need to take some very strong steps to actively defend against intrusion and theft in that area.
So this involves anything from like individual devices to banks to institutions to data centers as well. I just want to talk specifically about data centers because I know it's something that's going to be covered in the talks here in Singapore. Why are they such a target?
So if you look at where data has traditionally sat, it's sat in remote office locations. As you consolidate that and concentrate that, obviously the risk of having it stolen significantly increases. So as organizations move towards cloud, they're concentrating that data inside a data center, and they need to take new ways to secure that, because if you look at the traditional ways of securing those assets, they're just not up to that concentrated effect that you get inside a modern data center.
And these are similar problems faced by governments. We saw the story just now of Microsoft joining forces with the FBI. Do you see that as something going forward that will have to be collaboration between private players and the government? Because for governments themselves, they have huge security concerns, don't they?
So if you look at some of the discussions we've had at RSA in Singapore the last few days, that's absolutely been the context of the discussion. Governments need to look to set framework. We had people like Interpol give a keynote speech around the globalization and sharing of that data, and we need to make sure that we are sharing that data, because it is a bit of an arms race, if you like, when it comes to security and prevention, and organizations don't have a bottomless amount of money. So by leveraging that shared information, that shared security, obviously that puts them in a better position than those that don't.
And you mentioned an arms race there, which is an interesting thing. Is there different elements to sort of cyber espionage, or not cyber espionage, but cyber hacking, that some are for financial gain and other are for political motivations?
So I think if you look, the largest concentration, if we look at the data that we have from our surveys, the largest concentration of attacks is still focused around theft, whether that's direct intellectual property theft for commercial advantage, or it's just straight fraud. And that's mainly what we see around. However, you're starting to see other organizations, whether that's nation-based or commercial-based organizations, looking to obtain that additional advantage that they can get by having somebody else's intellectual property. And we need to adjust our position and adjust our the way we defend against those types of attacks.
Now, whenever we're talking about being attacked or these cyber criminals, it's hard to put a face on it, isn't it? I mean, are these individuals, are they organizations? Is there some way you can can sort of share with us what it is that people are up against.
So I think the way that I could describe that is just through some data points. And Juniper got an organisation called Ponemon, and they surveyed a bunch of IT professionals globally, about 4,000, around about 2,000 in the Asia-Pacific region, so a very good representation of this part of the world, and asked them what did they see their main threats were. And about 60-odd% of them said they're still concerned about defending against web-based attacks. And given that web is the interface to the internet, to have that number of people worried and concerned about it is clearly an issue.
Okay, thank you very much. I wish we had more time. It's a very big topic to cover. I've been speaking with Greg Bunt there from Juniper Networks.